Okay, it's Ed Pagecroft here. I am going to be starting this webinar now. Thank you all for attending. At Stockopedia, we have just launched a whole range of new regions, which I think is very exciting. And this is not going to be a long webinar. I'm going to be probably doing about 25, 30 minutes of screen sharing and showing you some of the new features and how to use it. The agenda really is going to cover the extent of our new coverage, and I'll show you how you can customize subscription plans or get subscribed, and some of the reasons why international investing is a good idea. And then I'm going to give a demo of all the new features, which I think are really fantastic, and going through how you can filter regionally, from the top down and the bottom up, and how you can go and research sectors and some of the changes that we've made to the stock ranks. I'm presuming most of the people on the call are already Stockopedia subscribers, and but if you're not, this will be a very interesting half hour for you anyway. So please do enjoy it. I would have to obviously make the disclaimer, generally show this disclaimer side. We are not a financial advisor. This is all very much a DYOR, do your own research service. And while we do as much as we can to help everybody in their investing, please remember you're making your own decisions and nothing we do is recommendations. So let me get started and talk a little bit about the extent of the new coverage. And this goes back to a little bit of the history of the site. We started in 2012 with just UK coverage, covering about 2,000 UK stocks and shares. And the next year, we expanded that to all of Europe, which most people thought we were mad to do because nobody was interested in Europe. But actually, it was very, very successful and at a very opportune time. The stock ranks were launched in 2013, and they did prove very, very successful in Europe. And right at the point when everyone started realizing Europe was very, very inexpensive. The year after, we launched United States coverage, including all of the New York Stock Exchange, NASDAQ, and the OTC. And this year, we have just launched a whole range of new regions. While we didn't launch anything in 2015, we have launched a whole array of new global markets this year because it all took a little bit longer than we originally anticipated. So we have new regions: Canada, Australasia, an Australasian plan. It includes Australia and New Zealand. What we're calling developed Asia, which is Japan, Hong Kong, Singapore, South Korea and Taiwan, all bundled into one plan, and also India as a standalone subscription region. Now, I don't know if you're anything like me, but my wife is Australian. My father-in-law has been pestering me to launch Australian coverage for a long time, and I'm really glad that we can now do that. We've also added in Australian dollar pricing for anyone that's interested in that. But I know there's a lot of people who would just want to subscribe to just Singapore or just Hong Kong or just Japan on their own. And I think next year, or at the end of this year, we will be moving towards what we call mix and match subscriptions. So you might be able to subscribe to just individual countries composed as you wish. But at the moment, this is the way that our subscription regions all fit together. And it covers almost 40,000 shares in total. Some of those are, some are, the screenable universe of that is quite a bit sort of smaller, but it's a very wide range of coverage. Next year, we plan on covering all of the African stock exchanges like South Africa, also the Middle East, Latin America, and the rest of Asia. And we hope to have completely pan-global equity market coverage pretty soon. So it's a bit of a labor of love, and you might be wondering, why are we doing this? You know, we're a very British service, but there are lots of reasons why we should do this. And I think it comes down to some of the things on this slide. Personally, I've always felt starved of insight when investing internationally. And I've bought shares, starting from the UK, but I've bought shares in Canada and around the world. And especially as trends move around the world, I found that I owned a lot of Canadian shares when gold was in fashion. And nobody in the UK ever seemed to invest in Europe or other markets apart from the US and Canada. And I think that is a real shame. And one of the reasons people don't invest is because they're starved of insight. There's very little coverage, and it leads to a lot of home bias. But I think the European plans that we launched are a model for the difference I think we can make by covering all these extra markets. Because the amount of messages I've had have been of people who've just done fantastically in Europe and felt like we've opened a whole world of investing ideas to them has been quite sort of humbling in a way. And the other thing is the international broker coverage is getting better and better and better. Everyone logs into their broker, whether it's IG or Hargreaves Lansdown, and they find they can trade on lots of different markets. So the extent of execution is increasing. The brokerage fees and FX rates are nosediving. We've seen launches of international services like DeGiro, which are doing trading on international markets at about £1.50 a trade. Robinhood in America is completely free. So these costs of international dealing is coming down. And obviously markets are still globalizing. I think that's probably, some people might disagree with that, but they are. And I think more importantly, factor returns are global. Now, people that know Stockopedia will understand we have our stock ranking system, which is very much designed around some of the so-called factors: quality, value, momentum. When we grade every stock, and I'll show you that on the site if you aren't aware of it, but we grade every stock on all this three tri-pronged approach. And factor investing works globally. There is, as Toby Moskowitz and Cliff Asness have said, there's value and momentum everywhere. And I'll share a couple of papers. We do have some links, and actually what I'll do is I'll share this presentation with you in the handout section. Let me do that with you now. Hang on a minute. Just so that you've got these links to look at. Okay, there's some of the webinar slides which I'm sharing, should be in the handout section. This just shows you something from one of my favorite research papers called Value and Momentum Everywhere. And it just shows that value stocks around the world tend to outperform. Momentum stocks tend to outperform. And value and momentum tends to outperform everywhere. The blue line here are value stocks in the US, in the UK on the top right, Japan bottom right, Europe bottom left. And you can click through and read that full research paper if you want. It's quite fascinating. And there's plenty of other research that has and explains the same kind of thing, that factor investing works everywhere. The success we've had with the stock ranks in the UK has, I anticipate, should work around the world. And we will, of course, be tracking the stock rank returns in all of these new regions. And we'll see how they do perform. There are some who say in Asia, momentum doesn't work so well, but value tends to work everywhere. So, stay tuned. We'll be doing regular updates. I will also share, for anybody who's really interested in this stuff, I've got a zip file and it won't accept my zip file, but I'll email it out to you later. A bunch of research papers that shows that factor investing works in Canada, in Australia, in emerging markets, in all kinds of regions around the world. So I'm quite excited in my own investing to get stuck in these global regions. Anyway, let me now show you the kind of features that are on the site, because I think that's very, very, really what you're probably on the call for. Before I do so, I just wanted to show you the new plans page, because this explains what I was talking about in slide 2 about our coverage. If you are signing up for the first time, you'll see this page on the website, and it shows a base region, which is normally displayed from where you are in the world. And you can change that. So you could change your base region to Europe, or to America, or wherever you are. And you can also change the currency. So if you'd rather pay in euros or dollars, you can do it there. And choose a billing period. It gets cheaper the longer that you commit for, but there are monthly subscriptions for people who aren't so sure. And you can add on any of these other regions and compose your subscription as you wish. So if you're a subscriber and you're logged in, you can actually change your plan to include any of these new regions from this link, the plans page. So it's just stockopedia.com/plans. Anyway, I'm going to log in, and I'm going to log in as me and start showing you around the site. Okay, now, if I go to I want to start just first by going to the directory so I can show you a lot of the different the number of shares. You can see here that on my configuration, I've got 35,000 shares, but I don't have India on this configuration because I wanted to leave that open for later. But you can go and filter our directory down for any market in the world, and you can see the extent of our coverage. So there's almost 12,000 shares in the United States there. So the directory is available from the home menu and browsing directory. Now, what I wanted to show is go to the Stock Ranks portal, which is up here on the Ranks tab. If you click it, then you will see all of the stock ranks there, the top stock ranked stocks in the world. And by looking at these flags on the right, you can see they're all in multiple international markets. Now, I don't know if you're anything like me, but I wanted to show you how you can filter this list if you are an international subscriber down to any market in the world. We've added a new link in the sidebar here, a new filter, which shows you the region. So if you click that, and on this demonstration subscription plan, I have all of the world in action. So you may not see as many filters in this region drop down as I do, but I can then filter this list for anywhere in the world. So if I just want to go and look at, for example, British shares, I can click United Kingdom and my list will be filtered for just UK shares. I can also go and look at all the Asian markets here. So for example, if I want to go and research stocks in Japan, I've got all my Japanese shares that are the top ranking shares in Japan. And of course, I can go and click through and go and review these shares as normal at the stock report. And so that is a very fast way to start navigating these different types of shares. There are other region drop downs. If we go onto any stock screen, I can, like, for example, if we go onto one of the Guru screens, let me show you this. I will click up on screens, Guru screens. And one of my favorite screens you'll find here is Jim Slater's Zulu Principle screen. I want to show you this. So by clicking that link, we will then go through to the Slater Zulu Principle screen. Jim Slater sadly died recently. It was a great loss to British investing, and he did so much to help British and international investors through his famous books and his work to help the private investor. And it's still one of the most popular strategies in the UK market. As you can see from this page, the tracking, we track all these regions. This is the blue line is the UK performance tracking. And that's done about 20% annualized since we started tracking it in the beginning of 2012. These other lines show other regions that we've added over time. As I said, we started the UK in 2012. This green line is Europe. We started that in 2013. USA the year after. And then just now we've launched a whole set of new regions. You can see all the performance of our live tracking in this table here, which if you have a lot of different regions activated, you can review in this table. You can also filter this down to just look, for example, at just specific regions, which can be quite nifty. You can see that the Australian Slater Zulu strategy has got off to a flyer. And in the table below, you can find all the different stocks that qualify. So again, with the flags on the right, you can see German stocks, Swedish stocks, British stocks. You can see all kinds of different regions there. One of the key innovations we've got here is up in the top left of these qualifying shares. If you click all regions, you'll find this regional drop-down menu. And again, this allows you to go and filter this screen at one click to any region that you are currently subscribed to. So if, for example, I wanted to go and look at just Australian shares that are qualified for this Slater Zulu screen, I can click Australia, and hey presto, I'm finding 5 shares in Australia that do qualify for this strategy. The other thing is you can choose either a single country or an entire region or your entire subscription universe. So if you wanted to look at, for example, all the shares in Asia, you could choose this option here, All Asia, click it, and you'll find all the candidate shares, 29 shares there in Asia across multiple markets that qualify for this strategy. And I think that's an absolutely terrific feature. It really just allows very, very quick further filtering of any screen rules. Now, maybe I could just show an example of how to create a screen for example, dividends, large cap dividend shares globally. What I'm going to do is just call this global dividends. And in this list, I'm going to add, obviously, the yield. So I'm going to use the rolling 1-year yield, which is a forecast yield, a rolling forecast yield of more than 4%. And then I'm going to add the quality rank, the Stockopedia's proprietary quality rank, which is there. And I'm going to look for high quality, high yielding shares. And I'm going to put a filter in also for market cap. So market cap, you can filter for dollars, pounds, euros, and we'll be adding Aussie dollars soon as well. But I'm going to look for stocks that have got a market cap of greater than 200 million. And I click to find qualifying shares. And there I've got a list of 181 shares around the world, which have a quality rank greater than 90 and a yield greater than 4. And you can see Australian shares like Wesfarmers, you've got Las Vegas Sands, all kinds of big international high yielding, high quality shares. And I think that's, again, a terrific feature. You can, of course, go and further filter this screen by using this region drop down. So if you just wanted to find the Asian ones, done. So whatever your subscription, you will see a set of regions in this drop down here. So let me just see if there's anything else I wanted to talk about there. I think that's probably it. But now I wanted to show you something which I think is even more wonderful, because if you're anything like me, you will have a home bias. I really want to see British shares most of the time. I invest probably 50% in British shares because I'm British. If you're American, you'd invest 50% or more in American shares. You might not want to see these international shares all the time. And if you're anything like me, you certainly don't want to be going and clicking on this stock rank portal and constantly having to scroll down and find the UK just to filter this for UK shares. So what we've done is not only add bottom-up local regional filtering, but we've added top-down a new feature we're calling focus mode. If you go and hover up on these flags up in the top left corner, you'll see any of the regions you're subscribed to. And let me just show you, for example, I want to focus just on the UK. So you see there, I can click focus on UK. There's a new grey bar at the top which appears, which says the site is now focused on UK markets. And an orange button here saying you can remove UK focus. Now what this does is it reduces the universe of the site to just that market or just that subscription region. You'll now see, as default, all the stocks on the right here are British. If you click on the region filter in the left, you'll only find the UK, but you'll be reminded you're in focus mode by the button here. And this, of course, is then replicated on other site features around. So if we go and look at some of the Guru screens again, if we go back to the Slater Zulu principal screen we were looking at, and we click it, here we go. We're in UK focus mode. We can only see the UK returns, and down in the list below, there's only UK shares. That regional filter, again, only shows the UK. And if you want to remove that focus, you just click it and you will break out of it and you'll go back to that sort of global mode. And I think that's absolutely terrific, because it means if you want to hide the rest of your subscription regions, you can, and just focus on any region individually. So we've actually got, if I can show you, that there are already quite a few subscribers to the UK and India. And sorry, this is just an admin tool here, but we have an Indian office, so it's been really exciting for us to launch Indian coverage. Again, if I want to focus just on India and I've subscribed to it, I can do so. And there's a lot of British Indians who have a family back home in India, and they are subscribing to the UK and India. One of the reasons we separated Developed Asia from the Indian subscription is partly because trading in India from the UK is very, very difficult. I can't find many brokers at all who let you trade it, and also it's a bit more of a it's difficult for outside investors to get direct access there, and it's also quite difficult for Indian investors sometimes to invest abroad. So we thought it best to split it out. Whereas British investors, international investors, often have a lot more ease of trading on Singapore, Hong Kong, etc., etc. So that's one of the reasons we've done that. But as you can see, again, this is just an example. example of the Indian market, and you can filter to your heart's content. Now, one of the other things is when you're in, I wanted to share some of the other filtering. If I'm going to break out of this focus mode, and I want to show you the sectors pages. If we go to the home and we go down here and we browse sectors, you can see here, this is a whole new set of data that we are computing. It's taken a lot of work, and it's been a great project for one of our developers, Hemant, and it shows you all of the aggregate data across all the industry groups or economic sectors. We have 10 economic sectors and 54 industry groups. And it shows you the average stock ranks, quality ranks, value ranks, and some basic fundamental data across all of these different sectors. And again, you can filter this to any region that you are subscribed to. So in this case, I'm seeing the UK and India. And we can filter that to find the highest stock rank sectors. At the moment, it's household goods. And I think this is really terrific because you'll find very, very different, the nature of sectors can be very different from country to country. And if you've chosen a filter here, so for example, if I chose India and I was looking for the higher ranking sectors, there's consumer defensives, and I click through, we'll again find on that sector page, the Indian market is pre-selected, and you can see the whole consumer defensive sector in India. Again, you've got your region drop down here. So, these regional tools for international investors, I think, are absolutely wonderful. I don't think there's any other site or service that has this kind of flexibility for people that do invest cross-border. Now, I know that's a smaller proportion of the investing universe, but it's for those of us that do, I think this is amazing. So anyway, there's a range of new indices. If you go up to the home menu, you can browse indices, and you can find a bunch of new indices. So if you're an Indian subscriber, you will find the Sensex and the BSE down there and the Nifty 50, which you can then go and click through to and see the constituents, and go and do analysis on sectors with the usual Stockopedia tools, like, for example, the bubble charts. For those who don't realize, we have these wonderful views in what I call the view bar in the top right that let you view all the charts, or all of the summaries, or what we love to show, which is the bubble charts of all the stocks in a sector or industry, which is very, very useful. So I think that's most of those kind of filtering things I wanted to show you. But what I think people are obviously going to be interested in is some of the changes that we've made to the stock reports. So again, let me go back to stock ranks page, and I'm going to do this from the UK focus mode, because we obviously have a big majority of UK subscribers. Let me just go in here and let me just choose a large cap, high ranked stock. Let's look at Persimmon, for example. So click through. We're going to look at Persimmon's stock report. With any luck, that's going to come up. Yes, and we can see the house builders have been ranked very highly for some time. What I was talking about earlier about the stock ranks, they're up here on the top right. 100 is best, so Persimmon is still a 97 stock rank share. Value rank of 71, quality rank of 95, momentum rank of 81. But just above here, you can see that this says ranked versus Europe peers. And this is a drop-down menu. And what we've done is we've created 3 sets of stock ranks. We're now ranking all stocks locally, regionally, and globally. And for most British UK investors, they will by default see the local stock rank. And with any luck, this will come up in a moment. Yes, so this will show Persimmon ranked against its UK and Ireland peers. And that shows a stock rank 98, which is slightly higher. So by changing this drop down, you can change the universe against which the stock is ranked. So against the UK market, it's got a slightly higher rank than against the European market. And if we change this to the bottom one, rank against the global peer group, we may find that it has another different rank again. Now, if you can imagine, well, it's a 98, but you can imagine that There are some markets which are much more expensive. Like, for example, the United States market is very expensive, and you might find that against a global set, US stocks don't rank as highly as they do on their own. So we've provided this local, regional, and global ranking sets so that people can explore the stock ranks from yet another dimension. And I think this is absolutely terrific. What we've also done, and anybody who wants to look into this in more detail, I've written a whole guide about it. I'll put this in the chat room. And you can go and read this link, learn more about the local, regional, and global ranking sets. What we've tried to do is not just rank a country against its local market. If you're as a market like the UK, which is quite big, has 2,000 shares or so in it, it's a very good ranking set. But if you're subscribed to, Belgian stocks, there's only 130 odd listed stocks in Belgium, and it's really too small a ranking set to really get a useful comparison against. So what we've done is create certain, larger sets of countries, which are, if I show you down here, if you look at this region set here for Europe, we've created these regional sets. So the British Isles is ranked against the UK and Ireland. Northern Europe contains Iceland, Norway, Sweden, Finland, and Denmark. Western Europe is French, Belgium, Netherlands, Luxembourg. We call it the France and Benelux region. Central Europe is, some people call it the Dutch region, which is Germany, Switzerland, and Australia, etc., etc. And each of these regions is slightly aggregated to create larger sets which make ranking more appropriate. And we've chosen markets which are developmentally similar and geographically similar. And these define the local sets up to the regional sets and then the global set. It's worth being aware that the global ranking set will change over time as we add more markets. But this is, I think, a very nifty feature. And what you might also notice is that the traffic lights will change slightly versus different universes again. I think for international investors, this is a really, really great great set of features because it gives you more insight into how your stocks globally rank. As usual, you can see the screens passed in this widget here. And if you click through, it's preset to look at that stock screen from the country in question. So this will be looking at just UK stocks, and there's Persimmon in that list. So anybody who's interested in investing internationally, I think this is a absolutely super suite of tools. I'm obviously very biased, but I hope you will give it a really, really good run through. I'm just going to check to see if there's anything else I want to go over. And I don't think there is. So let me please ask anybody if you have any questions. I've got some friends here. Who are work in the office who are also going to be answering some questions. But let me see what I can find. I'd have to say I do find GoToWebinar's control panel very, very hard to read and view. So just give me a minute. We got someone from Shanghai, loud and clear. Well, obviously we got the Hong Kong coverage. We do want to do and deliver mainland Chinese coverage, but I think that will be next year, probably the end of this year or next year. I've got another question here. Got a question on sort of data quality in terms of the European coverage. A large number of Eastern European stocks are highly ranked. Can I really trust the data issued by these companies? I think one does have to take different accounting standards into account around the world. We're still making certain adjustments because we're finding certain different, although we have, I would say, let me go track back a moment and say, look, we receive our raw fundamentals from Thomson Reuters. Thomson Reuters standardized those financial statements for every company in the world, and they have a process to do so. So, for example, let me just go and look at it. Let's say an Indian stock. I don't know anything about this one, and I hope I choose the right kind of share. And if we go into the financial statements, you can see a certain number of and set of what we call chart of account codes in the left-hand side. These are standardized from the original statements, but they're standardized in a very sound fashion. There are growing international accounting standards. I cannot speak for every country in the world. All I can speak for is that there is a fairly robust process used by Thomson Reuters to standardize the data which comes in, and this is the raw data from which we compute all our fundamental data and rankings daily. If you find any data anomalies, please do let us know. It's always worth going the extra mile on a stock and just going and checking the raw statements from a individual company. And normally all listed companies have their reports and results available online as a part of their listing requirements. Let me answer another question. Lots of people saying the sound is clear. Sound is good, which is a great success. Will each country's RNS information be available under the News tab? Well, this is a great point, because we're working on this very, very hard at the moment in our new website. Anybody might have seen we've got Reuters News, which is available on all stocks. So you can see here there's a couple of news stories on this share which I've picked at random, but then Reuters news stories. We are gradually building up our Newswire coverage globally. And we do have Huggin News, and we're going to be adding more Newswires. If you find a market that you believe we should have better news coverage in, please let us know. There are a lot of providers, and each one has licensing fees. So please let us know what you're looking for. But yes, our goal is to provide all company announcements globally. So please let us know what you're looking for. Someone has said, can you set the stock ranks to rank Eurozone countries only, rather than all of Europe? Unfortunately, that is not possible at the moment. We are ranking across all of Europe for European companies. So, for example, if I look at Accor, going back to what we were saying about the ranking sets, blast, you see, this is now asking me to upgrade. I'm going to just quickly just go into my European mode. This is an administrative tool, which you won't have access to. But anyway, if we go back to look at Accor, we can see that no, this is ranked against all of the regional Europe, which yes, it does include emerging Europe. But you can rank against the local set, which is its Western Europe peers, which is basically for a French companies, France and Benelux. In future, we will be allowing people at a certain point to create their own custom ranks and their own custom ranking universes. I won't commit to a date for that, but it is absolutely in our pipeline at the front of our thoughts. So if you are looking for your own custom rankings and your own custom ranking universes, we'll try and help in future. Will I be able to subscribe for only India living in the UK? Absolutely. Let me just log out. Let me show you this. Wherever you are in the world, you can subscribe to a certain region. This is the plans page. On the UK here, it says not your region, change it. You can change it to India, and you can subscribe just to India from the UK. And so yes, if you're an Indian living abroad or you're British living abroad and you want to subscribe to the UK, you can do this from wherever you are. So yes, please have a look. Any plans to launch a fund or an ETF? We do get asked that a lot. Thanks, Guy. We've been in discussions about this for quite some time with multiple parties. I'm not going to commit to it. Obviously, the stock ranks have done very well. And, we do get a lot of people who ask us to launch funds. If we look at the performance of the stock ranks in Britain and Europe, they have done exceptionally well. This green line is the top decile, which would be more the kind of shares that would be in an ETF. So we plan on it at some stage, but we will have to wait and see. Let me just see. Trying to keep it on the topic. If there's any more questions, please do ask. We're not going to Master Investor this Saturday. We are going to the UK Investor Show on Parliament Square at the QE2 Centre a week on Saturday. We can't do every show. We're doing the UK Investor Show. I am actually doing a main stage presentation. I think it's at about 10:30 or 11 o'clock on the Saturday. And I'm also running 2 seminars. So please do come along. There's an introduction to Stockopedia more generally, which will be very UK focused. And then I'm also doing a session on the NAPS portfolio after that. So please do come and have a look. And if you just Google UK Investor Show, you can find it. I think probably be the first link. Yeah, it's there. UK Investor Show 2016. And if you haven't got a ticket through us, I think we do still have complimentary tickets, so get in touch. Any more questions? Last chance, really. Come to the East Midlands. I will try, Nigel. We do go up north sometimes, but and around the country. But again, we're just always so busy. Would it be possible to have direct links to the chairman's latest reports? Well, we're working on it. Again, it's hard to get this data and hard to get the actual annual reports without gathering the data ourselves. Again, as we grow, we can afford to buy more databases. And so please do tell all your friends. There's a couple of things before I go, which I wanted to share. I wrote up a summary article. It's in that in this set of notes that I just gave you, which has a little bit more of what we're talking about, but in text version. But there's also a couple of guides here. We haven't written guides for every region. Alex Namani, who works at Stockopedia, has written this guide to Asia and Australasia. It's with any luck, it should be published now, but it explains Australian markets, Asian markets, some of the indices and exchanges and quirks you should be aware of in those markets. So give it a read and have a look if you're interested in that area. And it also gives a lot more information about brokerage. Obviously, one of the problems that people have investing internationally is that their brokers don't cover everything. And there is some information about which brokers, from a UK perspective, cover which markets. So that's very, very helpful. And there's an older one that we printed up a couple of years ago called Getting Started in US Shares. Anyway, I hope this is very useful. Let me see, when will we? A couple of questions about holdings data and ownership data. This is an ongoing question because this is the one thing that I definitely overpromised and underdelivered on. I really should let you guys all know about, before I go, about what we have been working on here. Because the team, I got a question about this yesterday because someone was saying, you haven't launched some of the features that, I really, really want. We've got 75% of our development capacity working on a completely new site, which I'm hoping to demo a little bit later in the summer. We are planning on launching it whenever it is finished. It's a huge, giant project, and it is designed to be working perfectly on mobiles, tablets, desktops. It's going to be faster. It is faster. It's just got a far better user interface, but more than that, it's going to allow us to start stacking on all these add-ons that that people are really, really asking for. If you want to vote on suggestions, please go up to the help menu, and you should see here what to build next. I think that's I think we can go somewhere in here, or maybe where's our suggestions forum? Hang on, help.stockopedia.com. If you go to help.stockopedia.com, you'll find our suggestions forum, and it says I suggest you. And on here, you'll find all the things that people vote. Let me just paste this in for anybody that's still here. Hang on a minute. Send to all. There you go. I've just pasted a link. I hope everyone's got it. And on there, it says some of the things that people have most voted for. Level 2 prices, real-time prices, everybody wants. We have not started working on that, but it is planned. Obviously, the second most asked for thing is globalization, and obviously we've been focusing on that. And then the other things that we're working on down here: 10-year financial statements history, charting the stock rank, mobile access. These 3 things we are working on right now, as well as portfolio groups, adding dividends, automating dividends and splits in portfolios, adding pension liabilities. Benchmarks on portfolio charts. All of these things that people have been asking for are all going to be resolved when the new site goes live. The one triumph of this new site is I won't have coded a single line myself, which you can either say is a good thing or a bad thing, depending on your perspective. But the team has really taken this over, and I am driving it forwards, and absolutely thrilled at the progress we're making. So it's once we've got that live, the very first add-on will be smart money, which will include all the insider data, ownership data, and we've got quite good global coverage of all this smart money data, and we're also bringing in short selling data, etc. When that comes out, I cannot promise. I know I've done a webinar on it before, and a lot of people are excited about it, but we had to prioritize. So please be patient, and please stick with us, because this is a giant project, and I'm hoping as soon as that's all out, our entire developer resource will go on to building on all these extra features onto the new platform. So I think that sums it up. Thank you everybody for coming and joining today. And yes, we have been, with any luck, recording this, and I'll put this on YouTube and you can play it back at leisure. So thanks a lot. I will sign off now and try and get back to work and delivering all those features you keep asking for. Many thanks. Best of luck in your investing, and I will hopefully see some of you at the UK Investor Show. Take care.